You're listening to the JD Rucker Show. Let's begin. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the JD Rucker Show. I'm your host, JD Rucker, and I owe you an apology. Again, another apology. I'm on the famous apology tour. Every time I do a show, it seems I'm apologizing for not doing as many shows as I should be. Last week, I said I was going to be striving to do a show every day, at least Monday through Friday. And I could not accomplish it. I was only able to get one show out last week. Hopefully, Lord willing, I won't be stuck with only one show this week. But my two journalistic passions, I've got two of them. I got this show and I've got my Substack, my jdrucker.substack.com. And unfortunately, both of them end up getting pushed to the side. Okay, as much as they're super important to me, they're not the primary funders of my life, of my family. Being able to support my family is based around the other projects that I'm involved with. And unfortunately, when those other projects take up too much of my time, this show and my Substack are the two things that get hurt the most, which is ironic because it's like, these are the things that I love to do. And it's not that I don't love to do any of the other things. I consider them a blessing. They're not a burden. They're a blessing. I feel very blessed to be able to do launch Pickaxe, which is a social platform that I'm working on with Jeff Dornick, my good friend. We'll be getting that launched very soon. Discern.tv, that is another passion project of mine, but it is also hopefully going to be able to generate revenue for the family. Of course, I own Prepper Beef at freedomfirstbeef.com. You can use promo code JDR there. This is a long-term storage beef company that I have some amazing partners, and we are doing everything we can to grow this company to make it to where people have high-quality long-term storage beef available to them. Ribeye, New York strip, tenderloin, the good stuff. And we're the only company in America that does that, and hey, it's working. A lot of people are out there. But again, as a result of all these wonderful things that are happening, it also makes it to where my hobbies, such as this show and my Substack, do sometimes get pushed to the side. Of course, I am also the editor over at thelibertydaily.com, and I own a separate aggregator at discernreport.com. These also take up time. They take up energy and effort. But they're important, and they do help to pay the bills. They do help to support my family. Now, Lord willing, we will be able to make it to where the show, through Discern TV, as well as my Substack, just through the Substack, that they are able to participate more, contribute more to the projects that I'm working on. Because if they can, then, hey, we can do the show more often. And unfortunately, look, I do a horrible job of advertising on the show, and I don't know the last time I sent out a sponsored post or an ad over at my Substack. But once we can get these to start generating revenue, so be it. Then we will be able to do them more. Speaking of which, I want to get into it, but I want to go ahead and I've got to get into the habit of talking about my sponsors. And just as a quick note, all of my sponsors, everybody that I work with from a sponsorship perspective, I get a lot of offers for my websites, even for the show. I get a lot of offers almost every day from various companies that want to sponsor us. And we are very, very, very picky. I mean, look, if it doesn't in some way contribute to the benefit of the United States of America, I don't want to be involved. Okay, I don't care. I've had some pretty significant offers sent my way from companies that I don't want to work with, and I just won't. Okay, but one company that I do work with, on more than just in advertising, they're not just a sponsor. I also actually work directly with them, and that is Harvest Right. You can go to jdrucker.com/harvest. That's jdrucker.com/harvest, and you can check out Harvest Right. This is a great stuff. Now, I want you to keep something in mind. I own, as I said, a freeze-dried company, and we use Harvest Right. We use the industrial freeze dryers, bigger than the ones that you saw on the screen just now. But still, even owning this company, even being able to work with them, or not work with them, buy from them, and use this to generate generate beef, I still recommend to people to get your own freeze dryer. It just makes sense. If you can. There's 3 criteria. Okay, number one, you have to have the resources. It's not cheap. Okay, these freeze dryers can be anywhere from like a little over $2,000 all the way to like $3,500, and that's just for the regular size ones. I'm not even talking about the industrial strength ones. Number 2, you have to have the time. It is time consuming. Okay, it's not worth it if you can only freeze dry once or twice a month, or even 5 times a month. Not worth it. Just buy freeze dried food, or get into canning or something else. Don't. Like, if you can't just keep it going on a regular basis, at least 2 or 3, 5 times a week, then it's not worth the investment. It's not worth the time. You can just, like I said, for the same amount of money, you just go buy freeze-dried food and not have to put in the effort. But if you have those 2 things, plus the desire to take control of your family's food security, it really is a lifestyle change, because you start buying things. You buy things thinking, how many can I fit on a tray? And, what is the proper freeze drying time for this, and all that stuff. You have to learn how to do it. It's not hard by any means. And there's plenty of resources, even at Harvest Right. They give you plenty of resources to figure out how to do it. But with that said, if you can fit those 3 criteria, don't buy from freedomfirstbeef.com. Don't buy from any of the prepper food companies. Just make your own. Get the Mylar bags, or the number 10 cans, or the regular cans, or the sealable buckets, or whatever. Freeze dry your own food if you can. And the best way to do that, to take advantage of all the maximum savings, is to go to jdrucker.com/harvest. So let's get into this story. I want to kind of buzz through it a bit. The story, of course, being the big story of the weekend so far is the Iranian attack on Israel. Now, that has been sort of projected to us. We knew it was coming, and that's important, because, as I'll show when I get deeper into the story, we're not being told everything. We're not being told, obviously, but we're not being even told the basic narrative. The real narrative behind this is something much uglier than just Iran seeking revenge for an attack on April 1st. No, this goes far deeper than that, in my humble opinion. We'll start off with this is an article from Nicarama over at Red State, and I'm going to buzz through these first 4 or 5 stories, because this is just to set up background, and I'm sure that the vast majority of you already have the background information. But let's talk through it. U.S. and Israel intercept dozens of drones, missiles, including over the Temple Mount. Now, I had actually posted a tweet on Saturday saying, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if the Temple Mount gets hit by one of these drones or missiles, taken out, and that's used as the predicate to build the 3rd temple. Didn't happen, but it almost did. Apparently, they were shooting down missiles that maybe they weren't heading towards the Temple Mount, but the optics were horrible. When you see Iranian missiles over the Temple Mountain, you have Israeli defense systems taking those missiles out. Would they have hit the Temple Mount? Who knows? Obviously they did not, at least not yet. We'll see what happens in the future. Okay, so ongoing response. The response to the ongoing attack on Israel is underway. This story is from yesterday, so obviously it's over. And I'm going to skip through this part. The idea here is that there was a lot of help for Israel, and that's a good thing. But I do want to do something that I normally never do, and that is I'm going to play for you a video from Fox News. I tried to find alternatives. I'm not a fan of Fox News, if you didn't know. I tried to find alternatives. I went to Newsmax. I went to Sky News. I went to New York Post. I checked to see if Breitbart had put anything out or whatever. Nobody did. I mean, not as good as this one. For better or for worse, Fox News did do a good 2-minute report on the situation. So I'm going to go ahead and play that, and then we'll discuss it. So here we go.
Drones were intercepted outside of Israel's border. Joining us now is our national security correspondent, Jennifer Griffin, with the latest from the Pentagon. Jen, what do you got?
Hi, John. Well, it's not just drones that have been shot down. As we've reported, U.S. officials tell us that the U.S. military has shot down dozens of those one-way attack drones outside of Israeli airspace, but also ballistic and cruise missiles. We have now learned that U.S. military assets in the region have been used to intercept some of those ballistic and land attack cruise missiles that we were reported in the last hour were fired from Iran. So that that means that Iran fired not just drones, but also ballistic and cruise missiles. And what's significant is that the U.S. military engaged at least one of those ballistic missiles in a manner that protected Israel. So U.S. Navy, U.S. Air Force, U.S. Central Command, very, very busy tonight across the Middle East. We also understand that the Jordanian Air Force and missile defense systems in Jordan were very, very busy tonight. They have engaged, I'm also told, dozens of drones, Iranian drones that were passing through their airspace. The IDF has been very clear that most of the drones and missiles were destroyed and intercepted outside Israeli airspace. That's good news for Israel, and it shows the incredibly complex layered missile defense and air assets employed to engage not just these missiles and drones, but also we're told that hostile aircraft were sent by Iran toward Israel, and they were all intercepted, we're told. So a lot of activity in the skies over the Middle East tonight, but we are getting some good signs from the IDF telling Israelis that they no longer necessarily need to be in shelters, and so this first wave of attacks appears to be winding down. But we are told that the U.S. military aircraft are still in the skies patrolling, ensuring that Israel is safe tonight. John.
And I'm sure that's a prudent thing to do as well at this point. Jan Griffin for us at the Pentagon. Jan, thank you.
Look, even after listening to that, I apologize. Again, I'm not a fan of Fox News. I'm not a fan of Jennifer Griffin. I think that she's very likely just a Pentagon mouthpiece. John Roberts is a useful idiot. But hey, they had the story, and like I said, I tried to find a better source, and I couldn't find one. So kudos to Fox News for some pretty decent reporting for background. Again, for background. More background, and again, you can find all these stories. I'm just going to buzz through these real quick to get to the meat of the topic. Jordan joined U.S. and U.K. in intercepting Iranian drone attack on Israel. That's on Breitbart.com. And it wasn't just Jordan. Also Saudi Arabia, the U.K., of course, and the United States all participated in trying to intercept various levels. They had different zones. Obviously, Jordan did over their airspace, but everybody had their own responsibilities. And once they got close enough, that's when the Iron Dome kicked in and all that good stuff. So that's why 99%, the vast majority of the missiles and drones that were sent from Iran were intercepted. Now, they did have one injury. The one reported injury from the attack, apparently it was like a 7 or 8 year old girl who was injured, and but no deaths. So there's that. Biden, of course, has come out, and Biden had a call, allegedly. We'll see. I think he was probably napping and had one of his handlers take the call. But allegedly, Biden talked to Netanyahu and said, look, we're not going to help. Now, I'm not a big fan of ever supporting anything that Joe Biden or really his regime or any of his puppet masters in the globalist elite cabal. I'm not a fan of any of the decisions that they make, generally speaking, but this is one that I agree with. Biden says the U.S. will not engage in counteroffensive against Iran, calls Saturday a win for Israel. True across the board. Okay, they got that one right. We shouldn't get involved, not directly. Okay, I'm not even a fan of sending aid to Israel. Look, I support Israel. Okay, I do. I support Israel without question. But that support is based upon need. In other words, do they need aid? I don't think so. If they want to buy weapons from us, great. If they want to buy aid from us, great. We don't need to be. We have enough problems at home, folks. We don't need to be helping in any way beyond intelligence, beyond, in this case, offering a shield to an Iranian attack. Great, good stuff. But no aid, and definitely no direct interaction or intervention on our part with Iran. Not just because Russia threatened or China threatened or the Ayatollah threatens. It's just because it's none of our business. Okay, Israel can take care of themselves. They're big boys. There is a huge land gap between between Israel and Iran. There's about 900 miles gap between them. So if there is any kind of war, this war is going to be an aerial war, and Israel absolutely dominates when it comes to aerial military forces. Okay, you've got with Iran, you've got F-14s and MiG-29s. Israel's got F-35s. Even the F-15s that they've got are more than enough to take out anything that Iran would want to send their way. And of course, we saw what happened when a fairly large, it's not huge, 300 missiles and drones is not a massive attack, despite what a lot of people are saying. I know it's good for effect, okay? It looks good, for the Iranian domestic consumption, but in reality, I don't think that maybe they didn't expect to score 0 points or 1 injury. Maybe they thought they could take out some Israelis, but no, they didn't, and that's because of support from the United States, the United Kingdom, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and possibly others, plus of course the Iron Dome and other defense systems in Israel. They are able to take care of themselves with a little bit of help. But no, we should not get involved. So begrudgingly, I actually agree with Joe Biden on that one. There's another story. This comes from the Times of Israel. Iranians gather to cheer on attack against Israel and then wait for gas. I like how they worded that. That is true. You've got people in the streets. They were, of course, chanting "Death to Israel, Death to America." They were waving their flag and putting up graffiti and all this stuff and talking about how, oh, Israel, your time is coming, But then there's another scene. I'm not going to play the video, but there's a scene where there were people lined up oftentimes for hours to try to get to the gas pumps because they know what's coming. They at least anticipate that there is going to be a counteroffensive, and that counteroffensive is going to cut off their ability to even get gas. One thing of note, it doesn't say so in this article, but I think it's important that Americans understand. There was a time not too long ago when the Iranian people were opposed to the government in Iran, large chunks of them, and that was shot down very fast. I think they were expecting another Arab Spring, and they didn't get it. They didn't get their Arab Spring. They got shot west. They got no support. They got no propaganda the way that Egypt and others had their propaganda boost from the West. Support, but minimal from journalists, and it got shut down. And they learned their lesson. The people that were opposed to the Iranian regime, they are either in line today or they are no longer able to protest, one way or the other. Iran took care of that. And so you have to assume that the Iranian people are adamantly opposed to us. They're no longer against their own regime. They have accepted the oppressive regime that's over them. Let's see, one last story before we get to the real meat of the subject. This also comes from Red State, why Iran may have just overplayed its hand by attacking Israel. This is by Banshi, very talented writer over there. As Red State reported, Iran launched a large-scale air attack on Israel using drones and ballistic missiles. It represented the biggest escalation from the Islamic Republic against the Jewish state in history, which has long used proxy militias in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen to do its dirty work. This is different, and the response from Israel and possibly the United States will be different, with reports circulating that Israel will retaliate against Iran regardless of whether lives are lost in the current attack. And of course, they weren't lost, and of course, this is a little outdated, and now the United States has declared they are not going to participate in any counteroffensive. Question that Banshi asks: how will all of this unfold? Those with a heavy isolationist bent, this is me, are already predicting doom and shouting World War III at the top of their lungs. Yet, there's every reason to believe that Iran has severely overplayed its hand. And I agree. Look, Iran did overplay its hand. But as we're about to get into, I think that may have been on purpose. We will see. We'll get to that. We'll get there. But I'm not screaming World War III. I'm not saying, oh, this is... Folks, if World War III had started, it started on October 7th. And that was just the seed, so to speak, that was planted. And you can even trace it back to Ukraine. There's a lot of... We might be in a slow march to World War III. It's not going to be like all of a sudden, the Archbishop Ferdinand is assassinated and then World War I starts. It's not going to be like that. I mean, it could be. I don't want to say it's not going to be. There's not going to be a triggering event. But it seems as if it's bits and pieces that are pushing us into this mess. But I don't think that this attack is the start of World War III. I think that this attack was an attack, and I think that it was orchestrated. We will get to that. Let's game this out. Back to the article. Let's game this out. Taking some of the most hysterical suggestions at face value. For example, what are the chances that this turns into a regional war being fought by multiple states powered against Israel? The answer to that is almost zero. Most of the Arab nations hate the Iranian regime and want to see it falter. Sure enough, instead of offering support to Iran, the Saudis and Jordanians immediately pledged to shoot down any Iranian projectiles and aircraft that violated their airspace. And there's no reason to believe that any other nation in the Middle East will join Iran in a hot war against Israel. The Bashar al-Assad regime in Syria, one of Iran's only true allies in the region, has no capacity to do anything but hold their territory it has following its civil war. The rest of the Arab nations are mostly aligned against Iran, even if not explicitly. Yes, they make a lot of noise in Arabic about the Palestinian issue, but that's for domestic consumption. When push comes to shove, they aren't putting their necks on the line for Iran. So, and as he goes into there, Banshi goes into more details. Again, I'll leave all these links over at discernreport.com. You can check them out. But Iran was very quick, so they put out two statements. One was in the middle of the attack that basically says, "This is it. We're done. We're just responding to the aggression. We have the right to respond to Israel's attack that killed our general." And other people attack. They said it was on the consulate. It was actually near the consulate, but so be it. Okay, great. Except then they ended up launching like 70 more missiles after that. I don't know if it was just they forgot or they put out the press release too early or whatever. But then they came back and they said, "Oh, no, now the matter can be deemed concluded." In other words, they hit us, we hit them. It's all good. Let's go back to normal, is what they hope. And let's see. According to the tweet, conducted on the strength of Article 51 of the UN Charter pertaining to legitimate defense, Iran's military action was in response to the Zionist regime's aggression against our diplomatic premises in Damascus. The matter can be deemed concluded. And they basically threw out threats. But if you guys attack us, we're going to launch everything. Fire everything. Yeah, well, we'll see. But that was their attempt to basically say, look, we got our photo op. We got the visuals of us, hitting back. We're not going to sit back and take it. We did our thing, and now let's move on. Let's go back to normal where we just hate each other. That was their intention. Now, is it going to work? We will see. According to Israel, it may not work. But again, they've got a lot going on there in Israel. I'm not going to say that they're not going to attack. It would mildly surprise me. Mildly. Okay? Only because, technically speaking, yes, they started it. The question of whether or not they attack is not going to be based around whether they feel like Iran needs to be struck. It's going to be, what is the geopolitics behind it? Are they trying, they being Israel, are they trying to push perhaps us into war? Are they trying to get more allies involved? Are they trying to isolate themselves? That's a possibility, and I can discuss that here in a second. But it's possible that they might even be trying to isolate themselves. Daniel Greenfield, over at Frontpage Mag, arguably, I would say, one of the top 10 most talented writers that I know. I've interviewed him before. Dude is wicked smart, and especially when it pertains to foreign relations in the Middle East. He has an article over there. This was not Iran's actual attack. So does that mean it's over? No. I'm going to read a good chunk of this. This is not the actual Iranian attack. This is the attack prearranged for show between Iran and the Biden administration through back channels. Let me reread that in case you missed that. This is the quote-unquote attack prearranged for show between Iran and the Biden administration through back channels. It's an attack that allows Iran to show off that it can reach Israel. Look at those lights over the Temple Mount, without inflicting any real damage. The Biden administration has already made it clear that it will oppose any Israeli response. There will be a public condemnation and warnings about escalating the conflict further. So, does that mean it's over? No. Iran did burn up some resources doing this, but apart from the morale boost of doing it, it set out to test U.S. and Israeli defenses. And the defenses did what they were supposed to do. However, had Iran actually been trying to launch a serious attack, it would have used its Hezbollah, Houthi, Iraqi, and whatever is left of its Hamas proxies to saturate local air defenses. In other words, they would have said, if they really wanted to hit, I mean, the way that you beat the Iron Dome or any air defenses is through, you flood the zone. If you're familiar with football, it's if they're running a zone defense, you just put all your receivers on one side and you flood the zone. Okay, you try to make it to where their defense has, in a particular area, has fewer defenders than your offense. Okay, and vice versa. If you really want to make sure that a receiver is covered, you double team them, right? That's football. Well, this is war, and in war they have Hezbollah, they have the Houthis, they have Iraq, they have even Syria to some extent, and maybe even a little bit with Hamas. You attack, if you really wanted to attack Israel, if Iran really wanted to do it, they have control over all these. These are all proxies, okay? Hezbollah exists because of Iran. So if they really wanted to hit something, they really wanted to do damage, they would have launched their rockets. I'm sorry, they would have launched their drones, right? Then they would have launched their rockets to time out. The drones go really slow. It takes like 7 hours to cross those 900 miles. And then right before they hit, then you would have launched the rockets. The rockets take, 2 minutes to get there. So time it all out to where everything's hitting at once. And while those are hitting, then you got Hezbollah launching from the north. You got Hamas launching from Gaza. Whatever they've got left, maybe they send out their what are those scooters or golf carts or whatever with the balloons and the fans in the back, whatever they use. And of course, anything that's left in Syria, the Houthis who've been attacking the sea, just turn those missiles towards Israel, right? That's how they would have attacked if they actually wanted to do something. They did not want to do something. And according to Daniel Greenfield and others, this is because all of this was staged. All this was staged. It caught my attention when, I believe it was Friday. It could have been Thursday, but I think it was actually Friday, when the United States moved its naval assets into position. And then they announced, we believe there's a chance that there could be an Iranian attack on Israel in the next 2 days. It was very odd to me. Alarm bells started ringing when they're moving their ships into position, and they're saying 2 days. Iran could attack within 2 days. Now, to me, if I'm Iran, and obviously they're monitoring, I mean, it's on the news, they're monitoring this, they're like, oh, so they think we're going to attack in the next 2 days. Maybe we should wait 3 days, or 4 days, or next week. Why do we have to attack today? They're obviously ready for it. So why would Iran attack when the U.S. said, hey, Iran's going to attack, and hey, we're going to move all of our defensive capabilities to be able to protect Israel. We're going to move them into position today so that just in case Iran attacks in the next 2 days, then we'll be ready. We'll be able to stop the attack. And then Iran says, oh, well, I guess now's the best time to attack. So then the very next day, they attack. Are you starting to catch on to this, folks? Are you starting to see what's actually happening here? As hard as it is for us to believe, maybe not believe, but accept, it seems almost certain that the Biden-Harris regime and the Iranian government, and possibly even the Israeli government, staged this attack for effect. Crazy stuff, right? Okay, back to the article. Iran, the October 7 attacks planned by an Iranian IRGC general who was killed in the Israeli strikes on a terror target in Damascus carefully analyzed Israel's border and air defenses, its infrastructure, command, and control in search of weaknesses to exploit, and did so effectively. That is what a serious attack would have done, and this was not it. So, what will Iran do next? Iran is not currently ready for a regional war, and it prefers to use its proxies to do its dirty work for it until the day comes. October 7 was an example of that. So were the Houthis attacks on shipping in the Red Sea and the Iraqi Shiite attacks on a U.S. base in Jordan that killed 3 service members. But Iran will do things beyond the light show, which was largely meant to reassure the Biden administration that its diplomatic tools have successfully solved the problem. That's an illusion that Iran has used to allow it to build up its nuclear weapons program, to sow dragon's teeth around the region, and to cut off international shipping at will. The Iranian regime knows that America could destroy it. It also learned under Obama that its greatest defense is convincing D.C. elites that diplomacy will successfully de-escalate any conflict with the region. By starting a crisis and then allowing itself to be talked into standing down a little bit before beginning the cycle again, Iran has been able to expand its sphere of influence without paying a price. It will strike more seriously, but it will do so in a way that will allow it to go on manipulating its diplomatic collaborators in D.C. and building power again. So to break this down, okay, to really dive into the reality here. Israel hits Iran, okay? They hit him. Granted, it was in Damascus. It was outside of the consulate. They took out the IRGC mastermind general for the October 7 attack, as they should. Iran is like, wait a second, we can't allow that to stand. You know, Iran is very big on honor, not real honor, their version of honor. And they're looking at this and they're saying, we've got to strike back. And America, through backchannels, says, hey, don't strike back yet. Let's look. You want to save face. You want to look like you can't be pushed around. So be it. Let me talk to Israel. Okay, you guys hang out. Don't strike yet. You guys hang out. We're gonna see if we can work this out. And they did. They worked it out. They said, okay. So we're going to get our stuff into position. It'll be like a military exercise. We'll get UK involved because they'll do whatever we want them to do. We'll alert the Jordanians and we'll alert the Saudis, and we'll tell them that, hey, these things are going to happen. Iran's going to attack. Okay, this is an opportunity for you to test your defenses. This is an opportunity for you to become better relationships with Israel. Maybe we'll throw a few billion at you under the table. You know, who knows? We're going to get our stuff positioned. We're going to be ready for this. We're going to alert Israel. Maybe not. Probably. I mean, Israel was probably in on it as well. We're going to say, all right, we're ready. Now, you guys on Saturday, you guys are going to launch a bunch of drones. A couple hundred drones, maybe 100 or 2 ballistic missiles. Get those launched. It'll be great. The optics will be great. You're gonna have people. You're gonna have Iranians out in the streets just cheering. Everybody's gonna love it. They're gonna, you really showed those Zionists. Meanwhile, we're gonna make sure that nothing bad actually happens, so that Israel doesn't obliterate you. Okay, call it. It's like a military exercise. That's what happened, folks. I'm 99% sure of that. The only question, again, is whether or not Israel was aware. And we will know whether or not Israel was aware based upon their reaction. If they then go and attack Iran, then they weren't aware. They're like, wow, we just got hit. Praise God, nothing happened. We had one major injury with a young girl. That's unfortunate, but otherwise, our defense is held. Our allies helped us. This was a good day. This was a victory. But we can't let it stand, so we're going to go strike Iran. Big time. We're going to take out their nuclear program. We're going to take out their bases. We're going to really do what we should have done long ago. If they don't do anything, okay, if they say, you know what, we're too busy with Hamas, there were no casualties from the attack, our defense is held, we did strike them first, fine. They're willing to not take this any further, so are we. If that happens, if Israel does not respond, then yes, they knew about it as well. I know it's crazy. It sounds crazy, but this is the reality of what's happening. And it's not just this one report from Daniel Greenfield. There was another one from Zionism.com. Iran coordinated attack with Biden White House. Biden assured Iran there would be no Israeli response. How did he know? We don't know. Not, at least not yet. Again, Bonchi over at Red State. Joe Biden greenlit Iran's attack on Israel. In a and let me read at least a bit of this, and then we'll cut the break. In a stunning yet somehow unsurprising turn of events, evidence has now emerged that Joe Biden didn't just know about Israel, but that he went so far as to greenlight it through back channels. Whoa! As Red State reported, Iran launched a series, yada yada yada. There's no way to sugarcoat this. The Biden administration told the Iranians it was acceptable to attack within certain limits. Were those limits adhered to? That's something only the president and his handlers can answer, and they never will. But given their rush to demand Israel not strike back, it would seem probable that everything went according to plan. This is a betrayal that is hard to fathom. If an offensive attack was getting ready to be launched against the United States and one of our allies told our enemies to go ahead with the attack within certain limits, it would be an international scandal in the end of that alliance. Yet Israel is just expected to take this garbage from Biden and his cohorts without questioning it. According to the Jerusalem Post, Iran informed Turkey in advance of its planned operation against Israel. A Turkish diplomat source told Reuters on Sunday, adding that the U.S. conveyed to Iran via Ankara that its operation must be within certain limits. So there you go. It's funny, I'm sitting here. I am certain of this. I admit I hadn't read that Jerusalem. I kind of skipped over the tweet, but then it caught my eye as I was reading the article. Yeah, I mean, there it is. There it is. Now, can you trust Iran or Turkey to tell the truth? No. But then again, you can't trust the Biden-Harris regime to tell the truth either. You really can't trust any regime. You shouldn't trust anybody. You shouldn't trust anybody. You should just just don't trust anybody. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. One last story. You know what? I am not even okay. Real quick, just buzz through this. People might ask why. House Republicans take up pro-Israel legislation after Iran attack. You know, why would Republicans support this? It's obvious why Biden would want to do this, by the way, because he wants, number one, he doesn't like Israel. He wants to have some relationship with Iran, just like Barack Obama did. And so this could have been his way of saying, hey, guys, you know, maybe they're thinking, and I say he as if he's in charge. He's not. But they're thinking, hey, guys, you know, let's just do a little response. You know, you can get your jollies, you can get your optics, whatever. But just keep it limited, and that way, you know, we can stop it. It'll make us look good. It'll make Israel feel good. It'll make your people feel good. Everybody's happy. We can just move on to selling oil under the table and getting ready for World War III or whatever. As far as why Republicans would do it, well, now yay, this is cool. Okay, now we can really push for pro-Israel legislation after the Iran attack. It is what it is. You just, like I said, you can't trust anybody. Not Democrats, not Republicans. I could count them on two hands, maybe one hand, the number of lawmakers, all Republicans, but most Republicans I don't trust. But I can count on one hand the number of Republican lawmakers that I truly do believe have our best interests at heart with their actions, their words, everything. And they usually get eliminated, by the way. You know, we see what happens when they step over the line. They get taken out. And I think the longer that somebody's in office, the more likely it is that they get corrupted. This is one of the reasons, by the way, just to be, you know, why do I support Donald Trump so much, even though ideologically I'm at about probably 80% with him, you know, but I still support him. It's because I'm not saying that he's incorruptible, but it's a lot harder to corrupt somebody when they don't need the help. You know, look at Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is rich. He was rich with or without Congress. He doesn't have to make Nancy Pelosi-style stock trades in order to get rich. He already had money. His family was wealthy. So it's harder to corrupt him. I'm not saying he couldn't get corrupted. I'm not saying any of them couldn't get corrupted. They don't just try to bribe you. They also try to blackmail them. They try to do whatever they can. Just ask Madison Cawthorn. But with that said, you shouldn't trust anybody. Yeah, I mean, nobody. Don't trust me. Verify anything that I say. Okay, just because I say I'm 99% sure that this was all orchestrated doesn't mean that you shouldn't do your own research. Always do your own research. You know, there's very few people that you should trust in this world. One person, though, that you should trust is Mike Lindell over at MyPillow. If you go to mypillow.com/JDR, you get the maximum discount by using promo code JDR. And people say a lot of these various shows, they say, oh, my discount is the biggest discount out there. They all are the biggest discount out there. They have one discount. Okay? So if you want to support this show, if you want to make it to where I can do this show more often, hey, that'd be awesome. Go to mypillow.com/JDR. Use promo code JDR and get the maximum discount, whether it's on towels or sandals or more towels or beach towels. Summer's coming. Hey, bathrobes, couches, pillows, all of that stuff. mypillow.com/JDR. My friends, I am so very happy and pleased to make an offer to you, my loyal and wonderful listeners of the JD Rucker Show. As many of you know, I do own a prepper beef company. You can find it at freedomfirstbeef.com, freedomfirstbeef.com. This freeze-dried survival beef company is extraordinarily unique. We don't sell beef crumbles. We don't sell beef chunks. We sell freeze-dried, sous vide, ribeye, New York strip, tenderloin, the good stuff, the stuff that you can actually enjoy during the apocalypse. Has 25-year shelf life. It is all American, all Texas, as a matter of fact. None of our beef is imported. It's all born and raised in Texas. It eats Texas grass, and then it gets slaughtered in Texas. Our cows never actually leave Texas until we mail them to your house. And if you live in Texas, then they never leave Texas unless you take them out of Texas. So check it out. Go to freedomfirstbeef.com and use promo code JDR for 25% off. That's freedomfirstbeef.com. Promo code JDR for 25% off.